Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
And I'm Uncle Dan.
I'm Uncle Doug. And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
That's right. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world. Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields.
We're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get one that we know of, so you'd better make the most of it. Yeah! Gentlemen, hey-o.
Hello.
Fellow uncles. Here we are, another show, another week.
Yes, we're just rocking and rolling.
A day early, a dollar short, whatever that means. And we're going to have a fun show this week. Well, kind of.
Your part's going to be fun.
I have a fun part. I'm going to talk about some yo-yos that want to go to space. And
I have a fun part, too, but it's less fun than it could have been.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that.
And I'm just going to sit here and drink my digitally perfected coffee.
Yes, indeed.
Doug has a fancy
fancy
smart
mug.
coffee mug. Bluetooth-enabled coffee mug. He's very proud of. For some reason. But
which can never be cleaned. I don't know if you saw that on the thing, but
so enjoy the show. Minor trigger warning: if you're a man and you like your penis, you might cringe a time or two. But it's a good conversation.
Yeah, prep for that talk, but that's at the end of the show, so you're fine.
Yeah, let's have some fun first.
Here we go. Oh, Doug.
Hello, Uncle Dan.
You know, as uncles to the world, I feel like it is our duty to provide guidance to those who are seeking truth and beauty out in the world.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are there such people?
No. They all just want to be racists.
Yeah.
But Uncle Mark, you've got some you've got some people to introduce us to. Maybe we'll all join.
You know what? These are some people to meet, and they're silly as fuck, but I think they might not be racist, and nobody died. So this is a first.
What?
This is a first in a religion we're going to meet this. As far as I know, someone may write in and say somebody died of a fungal infection or something. But today, I want to talk about a really fun group of folks. Little preamble. You guys know how the 1960s were a pretty insane time in this country in a lot of ways.
Sure.
I wasn't alive in the 60s, so we defer to you.
You're the only one who was...
I made it. I was just made it.
Got it under the wire.
Got it under the wire. But so anyway, gallons of ink have been spilled about the seismic shift that the post-World War II generation, which, if people don't know, are called the baby boomers,
yes,
made away from the kind of standard white American mainline Christianity and the social norms of their parents' generation, and they ran in a totally different direction, right?
Right, sure.
So we, Gen Xers, the greatest generation, I think, we also rejected the prior generation's particular conservatism, but the direction we largely ran in was into skepticism, inquiry, scientific method, and
just moody disaffectation.
And the kind of snide anti-religious cynicism that has made this podcast the international toast of the comedic atheist podcast Borscht Belt that people of the world now find they can't live without. But this is not about us. It's not about Gen X and how we made the world a better place.
Did we?
Well, I feel like we're doing it now.
Oh, now we are.
Yeah.
We made it just sort of
starting now.
Grumpy and goth for a long time.
The baby boomer set a low bar. Goodbye, baby boomer listeners.
Yes,
but
all six of you.
But so
you know what you did. Shut up. They're not going anywhere.
Well, the America that the boomers hit their teens and 20s in was by orders of magnitude a far more stifling one than the sunny Christian vapidity of the Reagan years that we grow up in, fellas.
Oh, the Reagan years.
Yeah. So, try to imagine what life in the 50s and 60s was like here in America. Hyper-conservative.
Do I have to?
And stiff.
Am I white or am I black?
Conformist, suspicious of anything interesting, and that's just for we white men.
Yeah.
Imagine everybody else, for fuck's sake. So, the direction the baby boomers ran in was decidedly east. Somehow, in the spiritual desert of the America of the time, with the huge social changes, the Vietnam War, lynchings, assassinations. It was old Eastern philosophies, or more often some strange mashup of a little bit of that with a little bit of this, a dash of saffron and cardamom. Throw in a fanatical devotion to a mysterious guru you don't really look very thoroughly into, and boom. This is why your old baby boomer aunt still wears Buddhist prayer beads and blousy MC Hammer-style pants with faded peacock print. The boomers had a fever, and the only prescription was more sitar. The age of Aquarius beckoned, saying, "Come on in, boys, the water's fine." So I'd like to visit just such a weird little patchwork of human yearning, a little Hindu, literally, the 60s, and an event that really summed up the whole shebang just so. So today, guys, I want us all to meet the Divine Light Mission.
Woohoo!
Hooray.
And I hadn't really heard of these people before, so this is they were a nice surprise. So, little background on who they are. The original Indian sect was founded in 1960 by Guru Hans Ji Maharaj. I don't know how he got the first name Hans, but his teaching mostly stemmed from the Bhagavad Gita, which we're all intimately familiar with.
You've heard of that Hans thing does make one suspicious.
A little bit.
It's like was there an Indian equivalent to the boys from Brazil? Was there a
Franz was taken.
So, he also he had this other strain of Hindu thought, which is called Sant Mat, which encourages followers to find a particular holy man or saint and just follow them. Right?
Sure.
So
we encourage that. We give people saints all the time.
That's true.
his name is Uncle Mark. So this guy G Maharaj taught a secret meditation technique called simply knowledge. And he managed in a few short years to gain 6 million followers in India and thousands elsewhere. So whatever he was selling, people were buying.
E-meters.
Well, maybe. You'll see. They probably make sense. So in 1966, Guru Ji Maharaj up and died. Or vibrated off to the next plane or whatever the followers of Sant Mat claim to go when they die. And this is where the story gets interesting. He had 3 sons, and through some kind of mystic crapshoot, it was concluded that the youngest, Prem Rawat, would be the next sainted guru.
Okay.
So at the moment of his ascension, he was 8. Oh my God. 8 years old. Obviously, we all know this was the will of the gods, and the divine is not to be questioned. But as we know, the divine will always needs a little bit of a nudge. And it seems that nudge was provided by the wee lad's mama, Rajeshwari Devi, who came to be called Mataji. She suddenly found herself the caretaker and mouthpiece for the young saint, as well as the holder of the divine light's ever-expanding purse strings.
She was the Cersei Lannister of divine.
Yeah,
light.
she was the Mana Sheila. Mataji was the Mana Sheila of... Anyway.
Right.
We're crossing a lot of streams here. So anyway, a few years pass, and the spoiled, rascally Dauphin of Delhi is itching to get out there and get his guru out from underneath Mataji's suffocating shadow. He's all of 15 and looks very much like a slightly younger version of Jack Black and Nacho Libre.
Mom, let me be a guru.
So Prem Rawat, which my autocorrect kept insisting on changing to prenup, now rechristened as Maharaji, slipped his crib, ditched Mataji, and headed to both the U.S. and the U.K., where Western devotees reacted to his arrival like girls everywhere when the Beatles deplaned. He updated his father's more traditional Sant Mat practice by adding the Bible to the Holy Canon, along with some other books. And his followers began to insist he was the second coming of the guy whom the common curse term Jesus Christ is named after. And he didn't not deny it. So his U.S. and U.K. missions really took off, and his people started opening ashrams, which are basically a meditation version of a church house, all over the place. And it was around 1972 that the boy who drank Hawaiian punch with every meal and liked to ride a mini motorbike around his mother's bedroom chose for himself a modest title, typical of humble Hindu holy men, the Lord of the Universe. And wow, that was a madman-style moment of marketing genius, because his U.S. followers spooged out of their third eyes when they heard that.
I love it.
It seemed
How big was his mom's bedroom?
huge.
So he could have ridden a full-size bike. He just chose a small one.
He couldn't have operated a full-size bike.
Oh, yeah.
He's as I'll demonstrate, he's a diminutive Lord of the Universe.
I see.
So it seems that the controlling Mataji quickly forgave him staying out past curfew when the swelling membership rolls ensured her continued comfort behind the tinted windows of their Mercedes and the gates of their mansions. And she and his older brother soon joined him in the U.S. So Maharaj, and now he's called Maharaji, remember, his late father's birthday was celebrated by devotees every year in India as Hans Jayanti on November 9th. The Lord of the Universe's mom.
Oh, we just missed it.
We just missed it.
We missed Giant Hans Day?
Giant Hans. So the Lord of the Universe's mom and big brother decided that in 1973 they would celebrate Hans Jayanti, not in India, but in the United States. And they would call it Millennium 73.
Which doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean any. 1,000 years, 73. So, fellas, just a little diversion here. What would you call the most significant event in human history? I'd say maybe when we developed fire, which allowed us to break down food, and our brains got bigger.
It's probably the day I was born.
I think the season 3 Cheers premiere was the
was pretty hot.
That was a big
That's a big one.
That was fire right there.
World War I, the atom bomb, Bird Box. Well, according to the organizers of Millennium 73, it would be the most significant event in human history.
Yeah.
Which would usher in 1,000 years of peace and convince every single human being of the divine light of the 15-year-old Lord of the Universe, Maharaji.
In fairness to them, look at the peace that has happened just since then.
Since 1973.
They've done a fantastic job. Like, the peace is unbelievable.
These past 45 years have been sleepy.
Nobody Google Rwanda.
Nobody Google anything.
History. So, guys, it's such a rare thing, isn't it, in our religious researches, that some prophet or new Messiah proclaims the end of the world or the second coming or a rain of comets or whatever on some date certain, only to gather with their flock on the mountaintop to greet the glorious final dawn, then the last noon, then the ultimate 3:45 p.m., then the final 6 p.m., followed by the long, awkward silence of the car ride back home. It's amazing how frequently that never happens among our prophetic subjects, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it was decided that the event that would change the world forever would be held in the holy city of Houston.
Yeah.
At the great temple known to the deeply religious as the Astrodome. The Guru's family and organizers sunk all the 1973 dough they had into this spectacle, about $1 million in those days dollars, which I don't know, that's more now, knowing it would come back a zillion-fold. Yeah. So the Astrodome was secured, flyers were printed. The Guru's biggest fan and Western financier, which is the very strange diversion, Rennie Davis, of the Chicago 7, they were a group of lefties who were charged with inciting the riots at the 1968 Democratic Convention. Anyway, he traveled the country on a 25-city blitz where he claims to have spoken to over 1 million people in each city. They even organized an event in front of the White House, inviting noted New Age hippie President Richard Nixon to attend. So with this massive media blitz and the capacity of for the Astrodome, a modest 66,000, the Guru and his family first claimed 100,000 would come, then 144,000, citing the numbers of elect from the Book of Revelation, and then 400,000. Whoa! How grand an affair! As the date approached, followers were concerned with the ability to fit what they expected to be the massively overcapacity crowd inside when the Astrodome inevitably broke free of its foundations and fled Houston, as everyone eventually does, and headed off to heaven.
Oh, my God.
Others were trying to work out parking arrangements for thousands of cars, as well as the expected retinue of flying saucers.
I just want to know what the office poll was on like the sound that it would make as it flew through space. I'm betting on a mew 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 mew.
So what did My brain broke.
Uncle Doug has just had an aneurysm.
Doug's very red right now.
Why this bit? Why is it? Because it's shaped like a flying saucer?
I guess.
Okay.
I guess.
It's very domey.
Yeah.
It's a big circle.
So the event itself, it promised to be 3 days of love, praise, music, and, of course, the promised knowledge meditation technique from the pardon me.
Also space travel.
And space burp. From the Lord of the Universe, and maybe, just maybe, a structurally questionable flight through space in an aging sports stadium. So, a 60-piece rock band jammed out...
a 60-piece rock band.
60-piece rock band.
What is that like?
Nice.
Just 50 guitars and 8 drums and
Well, there's
one sad bass
and I'm
player.
going to put a link to this. There's a documentary made about this event.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, PBS made a documentary called Lord of the Universe in '73 about it. It's pretty fucking hilarious. So, yeah, 60-piece rock band jammed out a constant medley of popular rock songs and specifically written praise songs about Maharaji. The band, perfectly named Blue Aquarius, was, and I'm using air quotes, conducted by a person named Bolji, and that was the guru's 20-year-old brother, also known as the Lord of Music.
Oh.
And so when you watch the film of him, he was clearly not a conductor. He just kind of danced and wriggled in front of the band. And he clearly wasn't a dancer either because he was just a hot mess.
Right.
Think like late stage Elvis, totally lost in the rhythm, trying to cover by half-assedly playing air trumpet for a few beats and then air other instrument. Just a total mess. What's crazy is the band sounds great. Like the band is really good.
Oh, really?
Kind of playing like Jefferson Airplane-ish kind of shit.
I think Jefferson Starship. I don't know if that at this point in the career.
Stardome.
They were not yet, Jefferson Astrodome. They were not yet the Astrodome. But they sounded great, and the reason is the actual work of organizing the band was done by a devotee who happened to be the Bee Gees drummer.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So he actually made the band work. They said, and they kind of said,
Wait, he wasn't the master of music or whatever it was?
He wasn't the Lord of Music. The Lord of Music was a sweaty, chubby guy in a 20-year-old kid in a silver sequin suit wriggling around in front of the band.
Yeah, what they needed was the Lord of the Dance.
Blue Aquarius, ladies and gentlemen, and Michael Flatterly present the Lord of the Universe for some reason.
Sure.
So a stage was built for the Maharaji. Now, uncles, you know I know a little bit about scenic design. If I was trying to feature a Lord of the Universe that's about 2/3 a Miscavige properly, I would probably not put his...
International unit of measurement.
Yeah, this is how all religious leaders are measured. In
Miscaviges.
In Miscaviges. He was 2/3 of a Miscavige, so I probably wouldn't...
Brigham Young was probably 2 Miscaviges, 2 full Miscaviges.
Yeah, he was 2.1 Miscaviges. But if I was trying to feature this little fellow, I would not put his wee little chair at the base of what looks like a 50-foot logo for a 1970s natural gas company. So you've got a 60-piece band, a throne for Godzilla, all set in a 42 million cubic foot arena. That's really how much space is in this arena.
Jesus.
You could lose a petite Lord of the Universe in there if you weren't careful. And when you watch the documentary on the subject, as I did, you will see he's very lost indeed. They tried to make up for it by putting like a 4-foot gold crown on his head. So, well, guys, you'll be surprised to know that the anticipated 400,000 didn't show up.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
My question is, did the audience outnumber the band? Because if they did, then that's a success.
It was a close to break even, so the hope for 200,000 didn't show up, nor the biblically magical 144,000. The organizers put the total at 20,000 and the police at 10.
Oh, no way.
So looking at the video, it's not a pretty sight.
So that's good. There's plenty of room in the overhead bins for your luggage.
Let me tell you something. 10,000 is a solid number.
Yeah.
Like, to get 10,000 people into any one event, like, obviously, if you've organized for 200,000, you're going to be disappointed by those figures. But 10,000 is pretty damned amazing.
We're awesome, and we got about 30 people at our meetup.
Yeah.
So
I think we should shoot for 200,000 for the next meetup.
Well, you prepare for the flying saucer you want, not the flying saucer you get.
the flying football stadium. So it's not a pretty sight. You know, in the restaurant business, they say it's better to have a small place that looks busy with 20 people than a big place that looks empty with them.
Right.
The Astrodome turned out to be a poor choice, but it was also a poor choice financially. Turns out renting out one of the biggest arenas in the country, building massive stages and sets, going on a huge national press tour, etc., and to complete that brilliant business plan, make the entire event free to all attendees, was not as profitable as they'd hoped.
Do they not know
what?
Do they not know about any other religion ever?
Right.
You charge.
Yeah, it was totally free.
Or you, at least you pass around the hat, but, you know, you got to have a big hat for 10,000 people.
So basically the Divine Light mission collapsed under the debt from the festival, and the young Maharaji married somebody and became an emancipated minor to get away from his family after the embarrassing catastrophe. They, in turn, his family went back to India and started again without their Lord of the Universe. Maharaji also quietly slipped out from under that title and took to calling himself Prem Rawat again, rejecting his divine pretenses and trying to rebrand himself as a motivational speaker.
As Lord of only half the universe.
As Lord of Finance.
Master of coin.
Which he did. He's still around, but now in a polo shirt and slacks rather than an elaborate gold crown and curved pointy-toed slippers. Devotees, still mostly baby boomers, fly to a remote Australian camp to give him their money, and it seems there's no promise the tents he rents them for $3,000 a week will fly off to heaven.
Oh.
But here's to a once-failed young entrepreneur bouncing back and putting the same shit in a different bottle and at long last making a buck.
Yeah.
And for once, as far as I can tell, I got to cover a religious story without a body count.
Boom, baby.
So yay for me.
I mean,
That's great.
You say there's no body count. What happened to those other 190,000 people?
Right, they went to the wrong stadium.
They are dead.
They went to the wrong stadium and flew off to the wrong planet.
To the wrong planet.
Yeah, so that's the Divine Light mission, fellas.
There you go. You know, I looked up Astrodome while you were talking.
Yeah,
and here was his big mistake. If he had just gotten Evil Knievel, because Evil Knievel drew over 100,000 spectators to jump 13 cars. On the motorcycle.
Well, Evil Knievel could have jumped Blue Aquarius.
Yeah, if Evil Knievel had jumped the band,
Right.
boom, you got your 200,000.
Showbiz, baby.
Easy. They just didn't think.
That would have been the biggest event of the 1970s, period.
Period.
Yeah.
That existed.
So let's all enjoy the 1,000 years of peace we now inhabit because of Millennium 73.
And Melania Trump's autocorrect changes every word to prenup.
All right, let's move on.
Moving on. Uncles 3,
Present.
we have people. Here's the thing. We're not doing this just for our health.
Hell no.
It's not. It's deleterious.
There's no point in doing anything for your health because
right.
And
Yeah.
B, it's not working.
Your health is not worth it,
we are mortal.
and so
It's totally not worth it.
So we did. You know, it's nice when people decide that this thing is of value to them, and maybe they can kick a little bit of money in.
Yes.
And some people have done that, and we owe them thanks. So
Let us thank them.
let us thank them. Thanks so much to Mary, to Kim, to Scott, and then I owe a heaven. Now, people who give at various levels,
Yes.
there are different rewards.
They kick in automatically at a specific level.
At a specific level, you get a different reward.
Yeah, we can't not do it.
We can't.
right.
It is against the laws of man and God.
It's in the contract.
It's
It is.
3-person authentication, and then we launch.
and then it's just go.
Yeah.
So everybody keys in.
Yep.
And turn on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark because Tanner gets a heaven.
I think this is our second Tanner to have a heaven.
Oh well, you know
We're rich in Tanners.
we're rich in heavenly Tanners
And Tuckers.
and various and sundry.
Yes.
Who knows what's next? It's a frightening and delicious world out there. So I guess it's me. I'm up.
Yes. Be heaven him.
I will. You know, Tanner, if there's one thing we know here at the How To Heretic, it's that there are many different ideas of what heaven is. For some, heaven is standing on clouds, playing golden harps. For others, it's a tropical beach. Father Dyer on The Exorcist said, Quote, my idea of heaven is a solid white nightclub with me as the headliner for all eternity, and they love me. That's true.
What's a solid white nightclub?
Shut your fucking mouth. That's what it is.
All right. Sounds like heaven.
Even the great philosopher Oprah Winfrey once opined on the topic, saying, quote, and I swear to God, this is true, my idea of heaven is a great big baked potato and someone to share it with.
It's nice to have achievable goals.
Right?
Yes.
But you, Tanner, is your heaven tuber related? I don't think so. No, root vegetables don't come into it for you. You're better than Oprah. You're specialer than that. You, Tanner, are going to monkey heaven. I am sure, dear Tanner, that like me, when you would go to the zoo as a child or see a nature documentary on TV, your little Tanner heart skipped a beat when the primates came into view. Ah, to climb! To swing with gleeful abandon from tree to tree! To masturbate as you stare dispassionately at an onlooking 73-year-old woman on the other side of the glass! That, Tanner, that is what real freedom looks like. And it's all yours, buddy. But Uncle Dan, you might ask, what kind of monkey will I be when I finally meet my everlasting reward? Well, friend, you're in luck, because in your eternity, you'll have the entire simian universe to explore. Maybe one day you'll be feeling a bit fancy. Why not dart through the jungles of Brazil as a golden lion tamarin?
One of my favorites. Beautiful little thing.
Your long orange fur and unbearably cute tiny stature will be the envy of all around. Do you ever feel like you weren't being heard? Try a day or two as a mantled howler. That enlarged hyoid bone will make your annoying shrieks loud enough to be heard 3 forests over. Feeling more of a drag vibe? Mandrill's makeup is always perfection. That long, bright red nose with blue accents on either side are all the rage this season. And you were brilliant to echo those same themes on your oddly manscaped derriere. So all the hating bitches can glimpse your fabulousness as you sashay away. Perhaps you're in a musical mood and would like to turn the crank on an old-fashioned grind organ. Or maybe you're in a nautical frame of mind and want to climb the mizzenmast as the beloved mascot of a pirate ship. Well, then you can't go wrong with the cleverness and ingenuity of the Panamanian white-faced capuchin. With its prehensile tail and ability to use tools, you'll be the beloved scamp of the 7 seas. Have a streak of the mischievous in you? Try being a rhesus macaque. While all the tourists are out seeing the Taj Mahal, break into their unlocked hotel balcony doors and dine on that lovely fruit plate. If you're caught and they object, just turn those adorable baby blues to them and they'll melt like butter. And if that doesn't work, bite them. And they'll have to cut their vacation short as they flee India for a country that has the immunoglobulin necessary for treating the rabies you almost certainly just gave them. Fuck 'em! You're a monkey! Whatever form you choose, you'll be sitting pretty as you fling poop through to eternity in this, your monkey heaven.
Wow.
I kind of feel like everybody who hasn't gotten the monkey heaven got cheated.
I know, right?
Yeah.
This is genuinely the closest thing to, like, my heaven.
To Dan heaven?
As I can actually imagine. The idea of just the swinging through the trees.
I've always thought of you as a mandrill.
I'm a bit of a mandrill. I might be a proboscis monkey at some times.
When Adam was naming the animals, how did he come? He was just out of ideas at mandrill.
Mandrill.
Yeah.
Mandrill?
A man and a drill. Mandrill. The weird drag queen monkey. Go. Well, congratulations, Tanner.
Yes,
That's a wonderful heaven for you. And if any of you want to join the ranks of such beloved and bespectacled, bemonkeyed people,
Yes.
just go to our website, howtoheretic.com, hit the Patreon link, and give till it hurts. We don't yet have a way to put a kidney in there, but we're working on it.
We'll give you anything you want as long as it's nothing that hurts us or costs us anything.
Not one thin dime. And if you can't do that, hit us up wherever you can give us 5 stars until they can put a button for 10 stars. Till then, 5, do it. We love you.
Moving on!
Well, Uncle Doug, Uncle Mark, We're going to have a little bit of a graphic conversation, I suppose.
Is this a trigger warning?
Should be.
It should be. But I'll tell you something. I have never... Here's something I've never thought.
Okay.
My penis is too big. Right?
You've never had that moment?
No, I've never thought that.
By like 10%.
By like 10%. So, but for those of you who have that thought or have that feeling or see your baby and think, you know what, that dick is too big.
You know what this kid needs? Mutilation.
Yeah. Uncle Dan has a
my
solution.
baby is almost perfect.
Right.
If I could just take a little off the edge.
Uncle Dan has a solution for two big baby dicks. Don't you, Dan?
Well, okay. So here's the dealio. As you may have guessed, ladies and gentlemen, nieces and nephews, we're going to be talking about circumcision. Male this time. We can talk about female genital mutilation.
The evil of FGM another time. But today is cock talk.
Yeah,
It's
cock
cock
Uncle
talk.
Dan.
That's right.
Or the world's worst weight loss program.
It is literally, as I was reading through this, I can't tell you the number of times I cringed in my research for this. It is difficult because we're talking about cutting off part of a human penis, and I'm not okay with it.
And doing it to a baby.
Doing it to you can do it to a grown person.
sure can.
We'll get to that
I'm
too.
sure we
I
will.
wish you luck if you try.
Well, some gentlemen elect for this.
Yeah,
procedure.
I know.
And we'll talk about that. This is, as far as we know, the oldest elective surgery that exists,
Oh, for sure.
and it goes back possibly 10,000 years.
10,000? Wow. Well, you know, the only disagreement I would have with you is we discovered that trepanation is a time-honored...
Well, I guess I'm talking about planned and elected surgeries.
Right. So you go into the doctor, you say, look, cut a bit off the tip of my dick, drill a hole in my head.
Right.
I got places to be.
I'll see you next Tuesday.
It's the Ice Age. It's not like I have a lot of free time.
Yeah. There are those who theorize that this is like 15,000 years old, this particular surgery.
Weird.
There's no real consensus as to why it started or how it came to be. There are some interesting theories. One guy, Peter Charles Remondino, theorized that in 1891 that literally the captured slaves were circumcised because a penectomy or a castration would kill the slave. So they just decided to do a little thing to mark them. Why you need to mark your slave's dick? I mean, just get a brand like everybody else.
Right.
But
Give them a dumb haircut. Draw a dick on their forehead like civilized people.
Well, they just wanted. I mean, they wanted to make sure that it was permanent and left your slave feeling defeated and lesser, or something. We don't know how it migrated, but
it's a dick move.
Wow. But it migrated. I mean, so it was a lot of the Mediterranean region, starting with Sudan and Ethiopia. The ancient Egyptians and ancient Semites did it. Several places in Africa. For some reason, it's been practiced by Aborigines in
Australia.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Various other Polynesian tribes did it. So this is it's a worldwide phenomenon. I don't know why, but it is. Nobody really knows why this thing started. What we do know is that, and as you guys know, the Bible started to talk about it pretty early on. Genesis, chapter 17, when Abraham became Abraham, and as a 99-year-old man was promised by God that he would father a whole bunch of people with his 90-year-old wife, which he literally laughed at, which is hilarious.
They were bad at counting years.
Yeah, exactly. But God promised him that if he would slice off the end of his dick and then convince everybody around him to do the same.
Right.
Which he did, making him the greatest salesman in Earth's history.
Hey guys, I have an idea.
You got to try this.
Hear me out.
Listen.
Yeah, you got to. This is terrific.
I just cut the end off your penis. Turns out you don't need it.
Yeah.
You guys are going to love this thing. And look, I just fathered a child with a 90-year-old woman. I'm 99. Boom, baby. It's the hottest new rage.
And of course, it's amazing that it's in Genesis, which is the same book where man and woman were created through various means. That we've talked about that before. So God just made all these people, and now he's discovered there needs to be an aftermarket modification.
Exactly.
God at one point is drunk, looks down and goes, "What's he got on the end of that thing?"
What the hell?
Well, oh God, did I do that?
He issued a recall.
I know. You know what?
Foreskin recall.
I hate that. I hate that. I want, you know what? All of my people, I don't care what the other people do, but my people need to cut that off.
Yeah, there's two things we know about the Bible, is that God hates birds,
Yes.
and he cannot stand an uncircumcised penis.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll read to you from Genesis 17. Here we go. This is my covenant with you and your descendants after you. He's talking to Abraham here. The covenant you are to keep, every male among you shall be circumcised. You are to undergo circumcision, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and you. For the generations to come, every male among you who is 8 days old must be circumcised, including those born in your household or bought with money with money from a foreigner. So yes, your purchased children also need to be snipped.
Sure.
Those who are not your offspring, whether born in your household or bought with your money, they must be circumcised. My covenant in your flesh is to be everlasting covenant. And I guess that means don't grow it back. Any uncircumcised male who has not been circumcised in the flesh will be cut off from his people. Circumcised from his, he has broken my covenant.
Is that how Abraham sold it? It'll grow back.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't worry about this.
Yeah, right.
But this way, God will know that you love him.
Yeah.
Yeah, God knows. It's the only way that God knows that you're one of his.
Yeah.
And, you're not going to just go ahead and do this to yourself, random, willy-nilly, so God will definitely know.
Right.
Yahweh seems more obsessed with penis than Boyd K. Packer. Right?
Your little, slightly smaller factory.
Take the tarp off your factory.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey-yo, all the Mormons out there, you know what we're talking about.
Now, it's interesting because we Americans see circumcision as a totally normal thing. Mm-hmm. It seems because, especially up until our generation, everybody did it.
Yeah.
It's just everybody did it.
Yeah.
Most American Christians assume that it is also a Christian rite. It's in the Bible after all.
Right.
Not taking it into account, in the New Testament, in Acts chapter 15, it says, certain people came down from Judea to Antioch and were teaching the non-believers, unless you are circumcised according to the custom taught by Moses, you cannot be saved. This brought Paul and Barnabas into sharp dispute.
Yeah, that's right.
And debated with them. It's not like Christian tradition has never had a circumcision tradition.
That was one of the, like you said, that was one of the big breaks with Judaism was about circumcision and Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
So
it's decidedly not a Christian thing.
Decidedly not. Yeah. So what the hell happened? It is, however, what religion has the most circumcisions is Islam.
Really?
Islam, of all the circumcisions in the world, most of them are Islamic circumcision.
So it's typically Muslim babies are circumcised.
Yes.
Huh. I didn't know that.
And
so of that giant pile of infant foreskins, a big portion of them are Islamic.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. So why the hell are 3 formerly Mormon boys sitting in this room cut?
Do you remember the movie, was it Europa?
Yeah.
About the young
I was just thinking about that.
Jewish kid who then hides in a Hitler Youth school, and it's a true story, he survived the war that way.
Oh.
And I remember I probably saw it when I was like 19, 20. Yeah. And I remember being very confused because there was this whole issue about foreskin. And he was a Jew, so he didn't have a foreskin.
He had to shower with the other
But
boys.
all the German kids did. And I was like, what? I thought everybody was circumcised.
Right.
Yeah. So, what happened?
Yeah.
Well, here's what happened. In Victorian era, in the mid-1800s,
Good times.
great times, there became vast concerns about masturbation.
Yes.
Masturbation
Not like today.
could create anything from epilepsy to madness to, if you've got a slight cough, anything and all ills.
Doug starts coughing.
Anything could be caused by masturbation, and it must be stopped at all costs. So many prominent doctors and sort of gurus of the time started to recommend masturbation for their children.
Circumcision.
Masturbation. Damn it!
Really?
It would have gone a very different direction.
Does your son masturbate enough?
Son, can we chat?
I'm going to read you a quote. Quote, "A remedy which is almost always successful in small boys is circumcision, especially when there is any degree of phimosis, which is that's when the foreskin hasn't fully retracted. And because we'll get into the anatomy of the thing, but the foreskin is sort of connected to the head of the penis, to the glands, for the first several years of a boy's life, unless something happens, and then eventually that the membrane that's holding it on there eventually just releases. If it doesn't release, that's what he's referring to with the phimosis. The operation should be performed by a surgeon without administering an anesthetic, as the brief pain attending the operation will have a salutary effect upon the mind, especially if it be connected with the idea of punishment."
Good Lord.
That
Jesus.
is from Dr. Kellogg of Cornflakes fame.
That is called torture.
That's called torture,
Yeah.
and was the delight of all English and Americans at the time.
I'm suddenly freaked out about what cornflakes
I
might
was just
be.
thinking that.
A shriveled up little brown thing.
Have you ever looked at a cornflake?
Yeah, exactly.
It looks like a scab.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
So yeah,
yes.
inflicting pain on what age did Dr. Kellogg recommend circumcision?
About masturbatory age. So literally,
really?
Literally, he wanted to make sure that these boys saw and associated that pain with their sexuality.
Jesus
Jesus.
God.
He also recommended application of carbonic acid to the clitoris of young girls. So
Good God.
this was considered healthy and good, and it's what really launched the circumcision craze of the mid to late 1800s and early 1900s.
It was like Beatlemania.
It was. It was. If you didn't have, guys with foreskins were just embarrassed as all shit.
And Dr. Kellogg, I don't know if he was a doctor.
He was.
Kellogg
I think.
also was very, very tied up. And this is quackery and junk science, but
Right.
he was also very, very tied up in the eugenics craze of the time.
Yep.
Basically, cramming human skulls with rice grains to see
Right.
how, to prove white superiority and preventing miscegenation and all. So, buy your cornflakes, everyone.
Yes, indeed. He was also very into enemas. So that's
Was he?
fun. Yeah.
I
Healthy.
think there was that Matthew Broderick comedy many years ago where he goes to receive some treatments in the Victorian
the road
era.
to Wellville, wasn't it?
The Road to Wellville, and I think it was based on Kellogg.
Yeah,
I think
it was.
The
It
character
was
was
indeed.
based on Kellogg.
Yep.
Just absurdities.
And these were common, like these health spas that had the worst health ideas in the world
Right.
were common all over the U.S. And this is also the same time, not for nothing, that the great American religions of Mormonism, Seventh Day Adventism, and
The Jehovah's Witnesses.
Jehovah's Witnesses cropped up.
Good times.
Bad ideas abounded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a big one was cutting the tip of your dick off. So let's actually talk a little bit about what this is.
Should we?
And bad ideas abounded should be just what every history book is called from now on.
Right. Exactly. Yes, indeed. Yes, we have to.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. Well, okay, I don't need to get too deep into this, but if you don't know, when a male human is born, they have a penis, and that penis has a skin covering that goes over the head of it, and that skin covering, like I said, is has a membrane that attaches it to the glands which is the head of the penis, and this procedure, you start by jamming a thing under it to separate it from the glands, which is painful.
Yeah.
Then, you cut it off. Now, I should mention okay, hang on. I'm going to find the thing. I'm going a little out of order here, but I feel like we have to talk about all of this.
And I believe generally there's no anesthesia applied. Or
well, traditionally there hasn't been.
You're not supposed to be putting a day-old baby under, right?
No, but even a local. Right.
For the longest time, no anesthetic.
Right.
Because, and this seems crazy, it was the common belief up until remarkably recently that infants couldn't feel pain.
Right. So when they scream, when you cut the tip of their dick off, they're just having a nightmare.
Yeah,
they're just a little colicky.
They don't. I mean, the device that they strap these babies into, because there's like a device that literally has Velcro straps that hold down its arms and legs in this.
What the fuck? What are we doing?
I don't understand.
So I mean, literally, it's a torture device. They strap them down. The babies start to cry. But when this occurs, they start to scream.
Of course they do.
So yes, then they cut the thing off, and it's so icky that I can't even think about it. I get the shivers real bad.
Aren't we kind of programmed by biology to react to the screaming of a baby? Isn't that kind of how we're supposed to function as a species?
Right, and we're also programmed not to cut a baby. Like,
right?
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So they have started using anesthetic, but generally speaking, they don't use. They use topical anesthetics that don't really work. So a topical anesthetic is one thing; it doesn't do much. They can do injected anesthetics, but those, you're injecting, which hurts too, and B, it takes more time, which they don't want to do. Usually, the circumcision is given to like sort of the lowest on the totem pole at the hospital that you're at. Oh, so the least experienced, probably worst person there to be doing a sensitive surgery is the one who's elected to do it.
But that person is that medically trained, low on the totem pole person is 1,000 times more qualified than a moil.
Yeah.
Well, those guys are trained too, but we'll get to those guys.
But what that proves is that it is traumatic for the doctors, because clearly they want to be done with it as soon as they can. They hate it, right? I mean
that, and they just don't want to bother themselves with it.
It seems like a violation of the Hippocratic Oath to me, personally.
Well, let's talk about that, because what we should talk about is the medical justifications for doing it.
Yeah.
Now, we know that the medical justifications for doing it in the 1800s were bogus.
Yeah.
All of those were masturbation-based. Well, I can say this. I was circumcised. It did not stop me from masturbating.
Right.
By a long shot.
Right.
But was it when you were 14 and you got your first boner and a guy kicked open the door and cut off your foreskin?
That may have done it. That may have been effective.
A strange cereal magnate kicked in the door.
Right, exactly. Which,
Count Chocula came in and cut your dick off.
Very, very possible that I would never have had sex again,
right,
and probably gone and lived in the woods crying for the rest of my life. But so not effective at preventing masturbation, nor the madnesses that were comorbid with masturbation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so there's been plenty of study, and there have been some interesting findings talking about circumcision and its prevention of disease.
Right.
There were 3 major studies that were done in Africa talking about circumcision and the spread of HIV.
Yeah.
And in high infection areas, circumcision cut the infection of HIV basically in half. So that's neat.
Right.
And probably it's probably statistically significant, even though lots of problems have been noticed in those studies.
In the studies,
Right.
yeah.
Of them, the studies don't seem to have been controlled for the possibility that men who are electing to go and have circumcision done to them also are more likely to be practicing safe sex anyway. These are men who are more concerned to begin with.
It's very hard to control for those things because people are not intentionally going to get infected with AIDS or not based for your study.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So it's tough to control for that sort of thing. Men might get circumcised. There's a possibility that once word gets out that this can help prevent AIDS infection, men will stop using condoms because they think that their circumcision has taken care of the problem.
Right.
Oh.
So there's a big danger there. And also men might get this does not translate to the rest of the world at all. This is an important thing where AIDS is a statistically much more significant
In a real hotspot.
problem.
Yeah.
In South Africa, where it was parts of South Africa, it's 25% infection rate.
Wow.
Yeah. Do anything you can, probably.
Right.
But in a place where it's less than 0.5%, less than 1/3% of the population has HIV, this is not an effective prophylactic.
Yeah,
against that.
and okay, so as you said, neat. But safe sex practices are far better than cutting the tip of your dick off.
are 100% more effective.
Yeah.
Wait, why? Why does a circumcision cut?
It's unclear, but possible that infected material can live under the foreskin for a period of time.
Right.
So also proper hygiene
Yeah, safe sex
hygiene.
and proper hygiene.
are far more effective.
It's like saying, okay, we did a study where we had 10,000 people cut off their feet.
Right.
And in the 5 years following that, no foot injuries were reported. Right? Yeah, good study.
Right, yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
There was no gout
right. There was no gout. No hangnails
in
were
that
reported.
population. There's also an effect on penile cancer. It does have circumcised penises are less likely to get penile cancer. However, penile cancer is incredibly uncommon. It affects roughly 1 in 100,000 men each year, and it's reasonably treatable. Just to give you a basis for
Today
comparison.
is the day that I knew that was even a thing.
Well, there you go. You were today years old. Just to give you a basis for comparison, women are 100 times more likely to get breast cancer,
Right.
and nobody is suggesting that we, as a prophylactic measure, we cut off all the breasts.
Right.
So there's that. There's also talks. It's a little bit effective in preventing urinary tract infections in small boys, but those are also incredibly rare and easily treated.
And it's a hygiene issue.
It may be a hygiene issue, or it may just be that that it's just a slight. This tiny difference.
Right.
But to Uncle Mark's point, every appendage, every organ of the human body is problematic.
Yeah.
We don't cut them off in order to dispose of those problems.
Why not?
I don't get I don't have my pancreas removed at birth
You know,
because I don't have pain, so I don't have pancreatic cancer.
But that's one of the bad ones.
Right.
Imagine how much easier you could breathe knowing that you don't have a pancreas
Right.
to get that cancer.
Life without a pancreas is living on easy street.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, so the United States Center for Disease Control still recommends circumcision.
No kidding.
The American Pediatric Society still recommends
I can't believe it.
circumcision because of these sort of and also so it's useful. It apparently has a statistically significant effect on things like human papillomavirus, HPV. So there are reasons why this could be good. None of those reasons stand up if the man just practices safe sex.
Right.
Yeah.
If just good sexual hygiene and personal hygiene, and all of those reasons go out the door entirely.
Right. Which kind of comes full circle to the religious problem, which is we don't have adequate sex education in the United States because Christians giggle too much and they can't fucking handle it, right? So boys with foreskins are maybe not getting proper fucking information because of religious sensibilities.
Every time a Christian child learns about sex, an angel loses their wings.
An angel gets circumcised.
That is a fact. I do want to mention, however, that this craze of circumcision did not hit the rest of Europe. It hit the U.S. and England, and the UK, did not hit the rest of Europe. Europe, however, their rates of STIs are significantly lower than those of the U.S. This has not worked.
Right.
I just want to be clear. As a method of preventing sexually transmitted infections, this is not a useful thing.
Right.
If you look at the statistics.
Yeah.
So are there good reasons not to circumcise? Other than just it's a mutilation of a child?
Yeah.
Yes, there are. In point of fact, it's funny because I was talking about this with a woman friend of mine, and she was saying that she did not want me to correlate this to female genital mutilation.
Right.
Because to her mind, cutting off a clitoris, which is which is the usual thing of FGM,
Right.
is much more horrific, has a much more lasting and a much bigger effect on a woman's future sexual pleasure.
Right.
I am now, after doing this research, not at all convinced that that is true.
Really?
I don't know. One can't you can't compare two people's relative, subjective experiences.
Right.
But it turns out that the foreskin contains almost all of the man's
nerve endings,
sexual pleasure centers. The least sensitive part of the foreskin is more sensitive than the most sensitive part of the rest of the penis.
Really?
In tests.
Huh.
So, yes, they have when they saved the three of us from the perils of masturbation madness.
Yeah.
They actually cut off our clit, essentially.
Right.
The most sensitive part of our penis by far.
Wow.
And actually 4 or 5 different structures that have the most sensitive parts.
Wow.
So imagine how great your sex is now and know that that's crap.
Right.
Yeah, and I can only speak from making certain assumptions about the experience in our family. I'm sure our parents didn't even think about it.
Didn't occur to them.
I'm sure it was just like it was just
I think
done.
that's the case for most American families. It's just part of the birthing process.
Well, and it became this thing, after people became less obsessed with stopping masturbation, sort of the Victorian era died down. At that point, it had been just so normalized.
Yeah.
It was just de rigueur.
Yeah.
And you just did it, and I want my son to look like me. Of course I do, and it's just
a
what
father
you do.
thinking, you know what? It's worth mutilating my baby, so our penises are similar.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is that the standard practice for non-Jewish people in this country is that the baby is taken away from the parents so they don't witness this thing.
Yeah.
I'm guessing if most parents, if they witnessed their child being mutilated, they would not have the second boy circumcised.
Yeah.
It would just not happen.
Yeah.
However, it's not something that they witness. Here's an interesting. Yes, it's sex for men with a foreskin is definitely better. Sex for women with a man with a foreskin also apparently significantly better.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently, there was a study of U.S. women. 85% of U.S. women who had experienced sex with both circumcised and intact men preferred sex with intact men. Sex with a circumcised man was associated with pain, dryness, and difficulty reaching orgasm.
Yeah.
It's almost as if it's there for a reason.
Yes.
It's almost as if
Almost.
There's no...
we co-evolved with our lady friends.
Yes.
To have sex with a foreskin. The foreskin is, as it turns out, the reason that this works is that the foreskin acts as a sort of
Almost like a lubricant.
It's basically, sort of does the function of a lubricant. So the woman's natural lubrication stays inside of her rather than being pulled out with by the head of the penis. I didn't find any reports on how it affected gay sex, except that if you go to Grindr, it's very important to all of them whether you are cut or uncut. And so
that's always been part of gay culture.
Men have an opinion about this.
Right.
So it's something where all of the arguments for are pretty flimsy.
Yeah.
But to me, the main thing is literally, and this is what the three of us have already sort of come to our own feelings about this.
Yeah.
There are going to be listeners who have not, and they are going to have strong feelings about this. And I'm sorry if we seem flippant or if we seem already decided on this point. But deal with your emotions on this thing, because in the end, when you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, you are mutilating a child.
Yeah.
An utterly helpless infant. Utterly helpless.
You're not. They cannot consent to this.
No.
This is unnecessary.
And it's medically unnecessary.
Yep.
It's something that they could choose later on if they wanted to.
That's my biggest thing. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you just said it's not illegal, but it's illegal before this man can choose for himself.
As are all elective surgeries.
Right.
Boob jobs, lip, what do you call that? Making your lips bigger or whatever.
Right.
If someone did that to a baby, they would be in jail. When someone turns...
I kind of want to see a baby with a boob job, just because that is making me laugh as a visual, but no, don't do it.
Well, our president was upset that his younger daughter was not born with voluptuous breasts, and he spoke about that on television.
He spoke about that on television.
Yeah.
But you become an adult, you can have elective surgery, that's your right. This is an elective surgery being inflicted on an infant with no choice and no say in the matter.
I can't think of a single good reason. You cite those semi-anomalous statistics about, urinary tract infection here, AIDS hotspot here, but I just don't. There's other ways to prevent those issues.
If you literally just it's 1,000 times better to just teach your boys about safe sex and make sure that they understand.
Yeah, condoms are 100% effective.
They're almost 100%.
Almost 100%.
Quite,
yeah, exactly. But this is, vanishingly small.
Yeah. Well, if you're again, it can cut the incidence of AIDS transmission significantly in a population where it's already rampant. I do want to talk a little bit about the religious aspect of this, because we know that there are religious traditions that are important. We read the Genesis. We know that the Jews, it's very important to the Jewish people.
Yeah.
They should stop doing this. Mm-hmm. I know that that's culturally insensitive or whatever, but this is horrific. And not only is it horrific to do to a baby, the way that some Jews, we talked about the Moyles. These are rabbis that are specifically trained to do the circumcision. There are some, I know you guys know about it. Some of our listeners are not aware of the fact that one of the ways of stemming the blood flow from the penis, these Moyles will put their mouths on the penis.
Like if you cut your thumb and you suck on the blood.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
And some of these Moyles have mouth-borne diseases.
Yes. Yeah. They were giving, was it syphilis?
Herpes.
They were giving herpes
to babies.
It can be transmitted to a baby because of your fucking stupid religious practice that goes back, 3,000 years or whatever. We know better now, guys.
There are hyper-religious, true-believing Jews that do this. Yeah. But there's in the Jewish community, there is a huge number of not particularly religious Jews, but they're culturally Jewish, and they kind of they'll have Passover and they'll do the things and they'll go through the motions. Don't go through this motion.
Yeah. If you see, there was historically speaking, it's interesting. Historians theorize that the original circumcision was just cutting a very little bit off of the foreskin, and there was this Hellenistic period where the Greeks came over.
Hemlines change, right?
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's a fashion thing.
Yeah.
The Greeks came over. They hated it. They hated this practice and thought it was barbaric and whatever. So
They were right.
There were correct. There were Jews that would pull on their create devices to pull on their foreskin so that they could blend in because they wanted to do like naked sports, which were all the rage with the Greeks.
Keep talking.
Right? You're into it.
Yeah.
So that's when the rabbis decided, well, but we can't even tell who's who. They decided you needed to cut off the whole thing.
Right.
That's when that happened, theoretically, according to one thing that I read.
Huh.
So it's a thing that so many people, especially in the United States, take absolutely for granted as just normal and fine and right and correct and whatever. And doctors usually won't sit a parent down and say, here's what's happening. Here's why it's recommended by this group. Here's why it's not recommended by this group. And make and just have their parents make the decision informed.
Yeah.
Usually what's going to happen is if you have a boy, they're just going to say, hey, you want it circumcised? And the parents will just,
Well, yeah.
well, I am. I
It's like you
guess.
go to the car wash and it's like, oh, you want the undercarriage spray? And
Right.
you're like, sure, check the box.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Don't check that box.
My penis is very important to me.
Yes.
And I didn't get to have this choice.
Doug's penis is less important to me.
Only slightly.
I hope so.
Yeah.
On some point.
I
on
mean,
some level.
it's somewhere. It ranks somewhere. I just haven't really.
You haven't done the spreadsheet yet.
Yeah.
Somewhere between 0 and 100.
Yeah.
No, and I didn't get to have this choice.
No.
And just so, any parents out there, listeners who have children that have done this, please don't feel like we're attacking you.
No, and and that's the other thing is that some parents may feel guilt or may
Right.
feel bad about this. We get where you may have been coming from.
Right.
There were
It's a crazy
everybody
time,
was
the birth of a
told to
child.
do this.
Yeah.
And is still told to do this.
Yep.
And but if you're having a boy, don't.
But I will say,
I'm saying.
I wish
Or
I
a
had,
girl.
I wish I exactly
Or a girl.
Yes.
I wish I had my foreskin. I wish I had that.
Yeah.
It was taken from me before I could say anything, and it sucked. I mean, it doesn't suck.
It's funny because
I don't know what it would have been like, but
I was
damn it.
I was like I wasn't mad about it. I mean, I knew that it probably shouldn't have happened, but the more research I did about this thing,
The bit more angry you got.
I'm like, I feel like I was crippled.
Years ago, I was talking to a doc. I just went to a doctor for something, and it was a guy I hadn't talked to before, and he's like, "Okay, let's get a little history on you. Have you had this?" And he's like, "Have you ever had any surgeries?" And I said, "Just that involuntary one," and he nearly dropped the clipboard. He was like, "What?" And I said, "Well, circumcision." He's like, "Oh, ha ha ha, ha. Check."
Right.
Yeah, and it was true.
yeah.
But his response should be what a response is. Like,
Yeah.
you don't do involuntary fucking surgery.
Right.
So yes, parents shouldn't feel terrible about it. The milk is spilled.
This is not to make, and men, you can go through all sorts of feelings if you were circumcised.
Yeah.
Probably don't obsess about it. It's not going to do you any good
Yeah.
to obsess about it. Some guys do grow theirs back.
Try to reconstruct. Yeah.
And that's a thing that is doable. It's not going to be comfortable, and it's going to be.
I'm still waiting.
Yeah, well,
But if
there are devices out there.
Yeah.
if this show has a prime directive, it is Uncle Mark's the funny one. If it has a second prime directive, it is that think about things, right?
Yeah.
There are so many things that are just taken for granted in this world,
Right.
That we all just do, and we go through the motions, and many of them have these bizarre Iron Age origins like
Right.
this, Stone Age origins like this, that just stop and think for a minute, and your life will probably improve.
Yeah, and when you do this to a baby, remember you are literally scarring them for life.
That's an undeniable truth.
Yep.
And with that,
I've so enjoyed our time together today, fellas.
let's all just shake it out and
Yeah.
move on.
All right, let's move on.
Well, friends, that is it for this week's show.
Hey, we'd love to hear from you. If you have anything you want to say about your ding-dong, send us an email at howto@howtoheretic.com.
Or if you've ever went to a basketball game and ended up in space instead, leave us a voicemail at 903-88-HOW-TO, which is 903-884-6986.
No, it's baseball that leads you to outer space. Basketball gets you into Osteen. Anyway, hey, thanks again to our patrons.
That's right. Thanks to Cody Layton for editing the show.
And thank you, dear friends, for tuning in.
Bye, everybody.
Wow.